Hi, this is Sally Morgan, physical therapist, craniosacral therapist, and Tellington T-Touch practitioner for animals and people. This is Tristan, he's a Corgi, and this is an episode of Conversations with a Corgi. And it is humid and cloudy here, although it is 60. Hi, Danny, I hear some bad weather's coming your way. Anyway, we're going to continue our series now about stress in dogs. So the first day we embarked on a pretty long talk about symptoms of stress in dogs and some of the more subtle symptoms versus the ones that are universally seen as signs of stress, such as diarrhea and vomiting. If your dog has diarrhea and vomiting, you got a lot of problems to handle. Hopefully you can learn what the signs of stress are before it gets to that point. So today we're going to look at some of the causes of stress so that maybe you can minimize stress in your dog's life. And as well, this is really applying to therapy dogs in particular and other sorts of working dogs. So one of the most important things to keep your dog unstressed is routine. Dogs love routine. You might have noticed when you're an hour late feeding them dinner that they've got something to say about that. You might notice that they are really thrown off by the time changes in weather, just like people. So they need routine. They need to eat at the same time. They need to walk at roughly the same time. They need to have the same kinds of people in their life coming and going. So any disruption in routine can really throw off your dog's whole system and create stress. Now, some of these problems can be taking a walk with a whole bunch of dogs that maybe, cold, thunderstorms, all that stuff. You're having that where you live and your guys won't go out. Well, thunderstorms and cold can also cause stress in dogs because it's out of the routine. Taking your dog for walking with a whole group of dogs that he doesn't know can be stressful if your dog's not really good with other dogs. Even just walking your dog alone if he's used to being in a group. This is a huge problem when people lose a dog across the Rainbow Bridge and they've got one dog left. There's a tremendous amount of stress on that one dog to now have to manage all the dog things in the world in that household. And I've seen dogs really either grieving or stressed or just sort of really thrown off by the loss of another pet in the household. The mental state of the dog and the amount of mental stimulation in the dog's life can definitely affect their ability to handle stress. If your dog is sitting in a house all day and goes for a 10-minute walk around the block with two teenage boys and comes back in, chances are he's not getting enough mental stimulation. If you have been so unfortunate as to choose a breed that needs a lot of exercise, like a big dog, or maybe mental stimulation like a border collie or a corgi or any of the other herding breeds, German shepherds, you may have a real problem with that kind of lifestyle. So you've got to have your dog that is comfortable and not stressed out because he has mental stimulation throughout the day. So don't get a border collie if you live in a tiny apartment and you're never home and you're not an active person. Get a pug. They're perfectly happy to sit around and wait for you, and they don't require as much mental stimulation. So a dog that is starting to show signs of stress may be a dog where there's been a change of routine and now he doesn't have enough mental stimulation. One of the great things you can do if this is a temporary thing, maybe somebody's sick and you're out of the house more than you used to be because you're in the hospital visiting, or some relatives are in from out of town and you're over doing stuff with them, hide treats around the house in the area where the dog goes. Use some of those treat puzzles. Of course, most dogs can figure those out and wipe out the treats in about 2 minutes, but at least it gives them something to do and they'll go back and check periodically. And I use 3 or 4 of those myself for my dog. He's very smart because he's a herder. So if your dog is really smart, you need to make sure they have stuff to do that is mentally stimulating. This is where T-Touch again comes in because you can use the labyrinth. Too much noise can be really stressful for a dog. Thunderstorms, fireworks, kids shooting cap guns, construction equipment. In my neighborhood, we have the neighbors shooting the wildlife. Very stressful for Tristan. He circles, he paces, he pants. His heart rate goes up. He sits by me. If it's really bad, he'll abandon me and go hide. So noises can be a big factor in stress for dogs. This is something you have to think about. Like we're working now, I'm working with a dog who's going to be working in a school. Every time the bell rings or the fire alarm goes off, creates a lot of stress for the dog, and you've got to know how to minimize that stress once the situation's over. Compounding that stress of like the class bell changing and hundreds of kids in the hallway is the crowd and the amped up energy, because as I recall in high school, you didn't have very much time to get from one room to the other and swing by your locker, so you didn't have to carry the freaking giant chemistry book everywhere you go. I have a real hate relationship with chemistry. So noise and crowds, too many people at once. As I said, I know a therapy dog that was visiting a school, and he was, in spite of the fact first graders were asked to line up and pet him one at a time, he was inundated with kids, and it was just too much. He needed a little break. Don't forget to think about noise that, like where I used to work with my dogs, we were right next to a loading dock outside of our area where we were doing PT. And if all the doors were open, as they often were on a summer day, because there's a lot of smells that need to get moving in a nursing home, and they slammed down this big metal garage door on the loading dock, oh my God, it sounded like thunder and lightning. And poor little Tristan, he was terrified by this loud noise. So noise tolerance is something you got to work with your therapy dogs and also your house dogs, so that when things bang, it doesn't really unnerve them. I mean, I've had people come to me with dogs who were terrified when the landline rang, and that's why they don't have a landline anymore. So these are all things that you can work with. You don't have to get rid of your landline. You have to teach your dog about sounds and how that's not a bad thing, and we'll have more about that in the coming days. So too many people at once. Don't forget your mood. If you are agitated or scared or expecting too much from your dog, your level of tension is quickly translated to your dog and creates stress in your dog. And this goes for cats and bunnies too. Any animal that's doing visits to a nursing home and doing therapy work, maybe even in a reading program, or visiting kids at school, or working with people after trauma, you have to be calm. And this is not as easy as you think. You think you're calm, but really you might be excited about going to the nursing home and, having some old lady talk to you who has not spoken in 3 weeks, or talk to your dog. You can't go in with those kinds of expectations, because it's about the relationship between the person and the dog when you have a therapy dog going into a setting like that. And you need to pull yourself out of it. Yes, you can be excited later, but during that process, it's best to keep your emotions in check. And I can vouch for this. There's a great thing that I circulate on my website. Well, it's on my website all the time, but sometimes I post it on my Facebook about Comet and great work he did with a client of mine, old guy who was dying in a nursing home. And it was so important that I let Comet and his relationship with this guy, Dick, just unfold. And I had to just be a witness. And that means not crying when he's crying, not laughing at his jokes, just staying out of it. And that is hard for people to do. And a lot of therapy dog training that I've heard of encourages you to interact with the person. Well, that's fine. If you've got a normal person sitting in a chair who just can't walk anymore and their cognitive functions are good, sure, it's great to say, hi, how you doing? Like your shirt. This is my dog. Do you want to pet Fluffy? Totally different situation than seeing an old lady crying and come over and crying with her. You've got to stay neutral, and that takes some learning. And the reason is, not only are you not interfering with the therapeutic interaction then, but you're also not stressing out your dog by being upset yourself. Because dogs that like therapy work are very social dogs, and they are going to know that you are not having a good day, and they're not going to be as great themselves. So it's really important that you be very chill when you're doing this kind of work. And this is something people don't think about often enough, because that level of anxiety in you can translate to your dog in a flash and change the whole interaction. And then, of course, the people that you're working with have a hard time too. And, great in a nursing home, even in a reading program, your level of tension, worrying about a kid, sounding out a word, can really translate stress to your dog, holding your breath, praying for that kid to get it. When really you just have to go there and let it happen what happens and not have an agenda about it. And this is hard for people to learn. And it's really about the kid reading to the dog. Otherwise, you could just go without the dog and have the kid read to you, and you could be stressed and it would be fine. But if your kid's reading to the dog, one of the great things dogs do is translate non-judgment. You have to have that yourself so that your dog can be his best self when he's working with those kids. So those are some of the causes of stress in dogs, particularly therapy dogs and other therapy animals that we're talking about today. I've worked with therapy guinea pigs, therapy bunnies, therapy cats, therapy ponies, and therapy dogs. So I know a lot about stress in therapy animals and how to avoid that and what causes it and how to make things as wonderful as possible. So if any of these things, certainly these causes of stress, you can work on yourself depending on your dog. One of the tests that my dogs have had to take is to be non-reactive to loud bangs. And I've had testers do things like slam a heavy door, drop a huge pile of dictionaries on the floor. What else have people done? One person had a piece of metal that they shook, kind of like the sound effect guys do, to make it sound like thunder and lightning. None of my dogs reacted to these things because they're sitting in an inside environment and they're like, whatever. But some dogs will react, and younger dogs will react more than bigger dogs, as older dogs have more experience in the world. So, if you're working with a dog that you'd like to have be a therapy dog, even if he is already 10 years old, get him used to loud sounds and get him used to doing little things that are different than what he normally does. For instance, if you're going to start taking him out to visit places and he doesn't normally leave the house, start taking him out to Home Depot and taking him a walk around, or, the outdoor center at Walmart or a garden center, or places where they allow you to bring a dog, and see how your dog is. He might be really shy and scared and nervous and not be really enjoying that experience. He's going to need a lot of practice if he's going to do therapy work. You may have another dog who is like looking at everybody saying, "You gonna pet me? When you coming over?" And that's a dog who might be a great therapy dog. And don't be too short on your time there. For instance, Tristan, often, no matter how chill he is, once he's in the store, going into the store, he's very excited because we're doing something new and it's fun and he loves going to the store. So I have to give him a little run around the parking lot before we go in so that he can calm down. So think about these causes of stress: expecting too much, crowds, loud people, too many people, too much loud noise. Your dog needs mental stimulation to not be stressed. So make sure your dog has plenty of activity, playing with you, playing catch, walking, being in the environment, having some dog puzzles, teaching them tricks. Tricks are great for therapy dogs because people get a real thrill out of making the dog do something. I hate that phraseology, and actually not so many people say that anymore. But having your dog be able to give his paw to somebody, no matter you're saying it or they're saying it, is a huge thrill. So work on these tricks. Think of all the cute things your dog can do. I know a dog that all she does is spin both directions and do a rollover. And she does them really fast. She's a herding dog, and it really impresses people and makes them happy. So you can work on tricks for your dog to get them that mental stimulation. So those are some of the causes of stress in dogs, and therapy dogs in particular. And as we work through these, we're going to look at some of the interventions that you can do to help your dog not be stressed, and what you can do if your dog does get stressed. And I am leaving for New Jersey tomorrow morning. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to do this or not. I might stop at Monkey's house, and if I do, then it will change my day. And Saturday and Sunday, I will be in New Jersey, and I'm leaving Sunday morning, so I don't know when I'll be back. But Monday and Tuesday for sure, I'm at my job as an educator, so you will not see me then. And I am going to try to do another talk on this topic of stress in dogs over the next couple of days. I'm just not sure when, so stay tuned. We'll be there sometime. And I certainly want to interview my mom while I'm in New Jersey, because people really like hearing from her. So I have a couple thoughts in mind about what to ask her. And it's fun for her and for me to do a talk with her. My sister has her all the time and never involves her, but I think it's because my mom's busy feeding animals every morning. So thanks for joining us today. Everybody have a great day. Enjoy the transitional weather. We're getting into the first day of fall, which is imminent. Thank God the trees are still green here. I'm not a fan of the cold weather at all anymore. I just like spring and summer. Although there is for me the wonderful bonus of no snakes in my yard after we have some cold weather. So it's safe to go outside again. Right, Tristan? He says, we go out, Mommy, just don't go in the yard. See, people love hearing from my mom. She might be talking about chickens or dogs. She likes to talk about dogs. So those are some of the topics I'm thinking about. We've talked about horses a few times too. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon. Everybody have a great day.